And one of the recent crazier pushes has been that we ought to feel bad for people that are breaking the law. We should understand why they have to break the law.
A Cook County court has reversed some of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decision.
At last night's village board meeting, Tiffany Henyard announced a 30-day temporary appointment for key positions, including the police chief, village attorney, special counsel, and executive assistant. This sudden move appeared calculated to stir public sympathy, portraying those affected as potential victims of leadership changes. Meanwhile, political analyst Candace Owens has launched a scathing critique of Henyard, accusing the Dune, Illinois, mayor of resorting to blackmail to maintain her grip on power. In a recent online segment, Owens, known for her outspoken commentary, condemned Henyard's alleged unethical tactics, which she claims have left local residents feeling suppressed and intimidated. According to Owens, Henyard has been harassing community members and threatening to withhold essential municipal services unless they either support her leadership or refrain from speaking out against her. Owens did not hold back in her criticism, branding Henyard's actions as deceptive and characterizing them as clear abuses of power. She argued that these intimidation tactics go beyond political strategy, instead exposing a leader willing to manipulate and coerce to retain control. Reports from Dalton residents further support these claims, with locals alleging that they were pressured into silence regarding the mayor's controversial decisions. This is not the first time Henyard has faced accusations of corruption. Ongoing lawsuits against her administration have only intensified scrutiny, adding to the growing public outrage. Owens emphasized that any leader who relies on blackmail and coercion to sustain support is unfit for office. She highlighted that Henyard's behavior is part of a broader pattern of unethical conduct, demonstrating a troubling disregard for accountability and transparency. According to Owens, the unfolding situation in Dalton serves as a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked power. She warned that Henyard's willingness to cross moral and ethical boundaries in order to secure her position is not just a local issue but a reflection of a deeper problem in leadership.
It happens everywhere in the entire world when your parents break the law. It's actually quite audacious to be willing to appear on camera and to ask for...
At the most recent village board meeting, Tiffany Henyard officially declared a 30-day temporary appointment for several crucial positions, including the police chief, village attorney, special counsel, and executive assistant. This abrupt decision appeared to be a calculated effort aimed at garnering public sympathy by portraying those affected as victims of leadership changes. Meanwhile, political commentator Candace Owens did not hesitate to deliver a fierce critique of Henyard, directly accusing the Dune, Illinois, mayor of engaging in blackmail to hold on to power. In a recent online segment, Owens, widely recognized for her outspoken perspectives, strongly condemned Henyard's alleged unethical strategies, which she claimed had left local residents feeling threatened, suppressed, and silenced. According to Owens, Henyard has deliberately harassed community members and resorted to intimidation, threatening to withhold crucial municipal services unless they either pledged their support for her administration or refrained from voicing. Opposition Owens's criticism was both sharp and unrelenting, as she described Henyard's actions as deceitful and manipulative. She characterized the mayor's behavior as blatant abuses of power rather than mere political maneuvering. Reports from Dalton residents seem to reinforce these claims, as multiple locals alleged they had been pressured into remaining silent about the mayor's controversial decisions. This is not the first time Henyard has been confronted with accusations of corruption. A series of ongoing lawsuits directed at her administration has only served to intensify scrutiny, adding fuel to the already raging fire of public outrage. Owens underscored that any leader who relies on coercion, threats, and manipulation to sustain their political influence is unfit to serve. She pointed to Henyard's troubling pattern of unethical governance, highlighting that the mayor's consistent disregard for transparency and accountability painted a grim picture of leadership. According to Owens, the unfolding events in Dalton serve as a stark warning about the inherent dangers of unchecked power. She expressed concern that Henyard's willingness to cross ethical boundaries to maintain control is not just a local issue, but a reflection of a much larger problem in leadership. Community leaders have also accused Henyard's administration of employing intimidation tactics to sideline and silence anyone who dares challenge her authority or question her motives. Owens, deeply troubled by what she perceived as a breakdown in Henyard's leadership, chastised local authorities for their sluggish response to the growing allegations. She further called on the people of Dalton to reject what she described as increasing local oppression and urged them to investigate Henyard's alleged extortion schemes. The public deserves leaders who truly support them, not leaders who actively work against them, Owens asserted. She emphasized that corruption must be eradicated and insisted on a thorough investigation into Henyard's actions. Owens warned that if the allegations against the mayor proved to be true, she could face severe legal consequences. Many Dalton residents, particularly those already disillusioned with Henyard's leadership, felt empowered by Owens's scathing remarks. Supporters of the mayor, however, dismissed the accusations as baseless, arguing that Henyard was being unfairly targeted. Some suggested that Owens's criticism was overly harsh and lacked substantial evidence. Nevertheless, the administration continues to face growing scrutiny. It is widely expected that Henyard will encounter further public backlash in the coming weeks, especially after Owens's pointed remarks further inflamed the already volatile political climate in Dalton. Social media erupted in response to Owens's commentary, with many residents rallying behind her call for political change. Numerous individuals expressed their frustration with Henyard, accusing her of employing coercion to suppress dissent and silence critics. Some went so far as to suggest that the mayor should step down in light of the mounting blackmail allegations and the intensifying public scrutiny triggered by Owens's fierce condemnation. Meanwhile, in a surprising turn of events, Henyard posted a congratulatory message online, praising President Donald Trump on his victory in the 2024 presidential election. In her post, she lauded Trump for his historic comeback and called for unity and cooperation moving forward. "Let's put our differences aside and work together," Henyard wrote, echoing sentiments of teamwork and optimism for the future. This message, which Henyard shared only an hour after Trump's victory was declared, stood in stark contrast to her previous political rhetoric. Some viewed her sudden change in tone as a strategic move to align herself with Trump in an attempt to salvage her reputation amid the growing controversies surrounding her leadership. "I believe we can restore America to its former glory," Henyard continued in her post. "I have many great ideas to share, and I would like to meet with you to discuss the situation in the municipalities of Dalton and Thorne Township." She also revealed that she had personally reached out to Trump, expressing her hopes of collaborating for the greater good. Henyard's willingness to publicly endorse Trump struck many as a calculated political maneuver, especially given the intense legal and political pressures she is currently facing. The timing of her post was particularly notable, as Trump's victory had been announced much earlier than expected, sending shockwaves throughout the political landscape. Typically, when political figures lose an election, they release a short, formal message congratulating the winner and calling for national unity. However, Henyard's post stood out due to its effusive praise for Trump's win. Many found her message unusually enthusiastic, raising questions about her sincerity. Observers were quick to point out the irony of Henyard's comments, particularly given her history in Dalton. Her administration has long been plagued by allegations of suppressing opposition and fostering a hostile environment for critics. Henyard has faced multiple lawsuits accusing her of abuse of power, with reports suggesting she has used intimidation tactics to silence dissenting voices. As a result, some questioned whether her newfound commitment to unity was genuine or merely an attempt to deflect from her own scandals. Additionally, many have viewed Henyard's leadership style as self-serving. She has been repeatedly criticized for failing to attend important meetings unless they served to benefit her public image or when something of personal interest was at stake. Trustees in Dalton have openly expressed frustration, believing that Henyard is more focused on preserving her position than on genuinely serving the community. Now, as Henyard seeks to align herself with Trump, her actions appear increasingly desperate, an attempt to shift public perception and curry favor with a more powerful political figure. Trump's return to the presidency has solidified his influence, and Henyard may be hoping that his recognition will lend her credibility, despite her tarnished reputation. Henyard's sudden outreach to Trump is particularly ironic given her history of using strong-arm tactics to consolidate power in Dalton. For years, she has been accused of silencing opposition and isolating her critics. Now, her unexpected praise for Trump, despite her past political maneuvering and alleged corruption, has left many observers puzzled. It appears as though Henyard is banking on Trump's resurgence to shield her from the consequences of her own actions. Alternatively, she may simply be seeking validation from a political figure with far-reaching influence. As Henyard pivots toward Trump, it is also worth considering whether her drastic change in tone is linked to the legal pressures she currently faces. It is no secret that she is battling multiple lawsuits and mounting allegations of corruption. Federal authorities are reportedly investigating her administration, adding to the growing calls for her resignation. The timing of her social media post, crafted just after Trump's victory, could be interpreted as an effort to gain favor with a potential ally while simultaneously diverting attention from her troubled past. However, the notion that Henyard's endorsement of Trump stems from a genuine desire for cooperation seems questionable at best. Despite her public rhetoric about unity and working together, Henyard's leadership has been defined by division and control. Her strained relationships with trustees and local officials cast doubt on the sincerity of her calls for bipartisanship. Henyard's comments regarding Trump have also raised concerns about her political loyalties. As someone who has positioned herself as a Democrat, her sudden public support for a Republican president appears opportunistic, especially in the context of Dalton's political climate. If Henyard genuinely intends to align herself with Trump, she will need to do more than simply post online messages. She must demonstrate a real willingness to foster bipartisan collaboration, something that has been conspicuously absent from her leadership thus far. As Henyard faces increasing criticism, mounting legal challenges, and rising discontent within her own community, her leadership is clearly at a crossroads. Her recent actions, from her online message to Trump to her controversial governance of Dalton, have only intensified the political turmoil surrounding her. Whether she will succeed in gaining Trump's support or face further consequences remains uncertain. However, one thing is clear. Henyard's attempt to rebrand herself as a unifying leader may have come far too late.
Suburban Dalton at the village board meeting tonight, embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard spoke out after public comments addressing respect in the meeting.
This is Mike talking about nothing. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany Henyard. So that means that you really are fans of mine, and I appreciate that. Because normally you will come up here and you'll talk about the business as relates to our business. But not one of you talk about any business that...
From the outset, the situation was deeply flawed. Anyone expecting an orderly democratic process or even a simple public forum quickly realized they were witnessing something far more chaotic. What unfolded could only be described as complete disarray, with Tiffany Henyard at the center, orchestrating a spectacle that turned the meeting into a disaster. Henyard, whose leadership thrives on loyalty and control, took extreme measures to exclude Karile from participating, effectively shutting her out and making the entire experience as uncomfortable as possible. Rather than addressing security concerns and logistical challenges with careful reconsideration, Henyard chose to push forward recklessly, prioritizing her grip on authority over all else. As a result, any semblance of civility quickly crumbled. What could have been mistaken for a middle school dispute instead became, for Henyard, an opportunity to assert her dominance, even if it meant placing a township representative on the defensive. As the meeting progressed, it became increasingly clear that Henyard was escalating her tactics, reinforcing the idea that anyone who failed to pledge unwavering loyalty to her would be sidelined. This sentiment echoed throughout the proceedings, as she continued to bulldoze through discussions, treating opposition as an inconvenience rather than a fundamental part of governance.